Welcome to the new video of NeuroPhilos. Get ready to dive into a gripping tale that will leave you breathless, thinking and inspired. Whether you're here for the mystery, the drama, or the unexpected twists, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe so you never miss another powerful story. Let's begin *****, the invisible chains. Have you ever caught yourself staring at the ceiling late at night, wondering why you are still here? Why you're still in a relationship that makes your stomach twist every time the phone rings or a message pops up? You know the truth. Even if you don't want to say it out loud, you're unhappy. The warmth you once felt has faded into a constant drain on your energy, leaving you tired in ways sleep can't fix. Somewhere deep inside, you also know the other person isn't going to change. And yet, you stay. It's not as if you haven't tried to leave. You have. You've promised yourself, sometimes through tears, that this time will be different, that this time you'll walk away and mean it. But each time you've reached that edge, something has pulled you back. Sometimes it's no apology. A memory, or even just the sound of their voice softening in a way that reminds you of how things once were. And before you even realize it, you're back inside the same cycle, telling yourself, maybe it will be better now. But here's the question no one likes to face. Why? Why is the suffering not enough to make you leave for good? Why does the pain you feel seem smaller than the invisible force that binds you to them? The truth is both simple and brutally complicated. The answer isn't in them, in you. It's not because they are such a master manipulator that they've stolen your ability to decide for yourself. It's not because you love them so much that you can't bear the thought of letting go. And it's not because things were once so good that you believe they might be again. The real answer is far less romantic and far more dangerous. The problem lies in what this relationship has awakened in you, what it has reinforced, what it has triggered in the deepest, most hidden corners of your mind. The trap beneath the surface. Toxic relationships are often misunderstood. People on the outside think they're only about the obvious signs: fights, betrayal, manipulation. Those are real, yes, but they're only the visible part of the iceberg. Beneath the surface lies something far more powerful: unconscious patterns, wounds from the past that never truly healed, a fear of being alone that whispers in your ear at night, a deep craving for validation that makes you willing to trade your peace for the smallest scraps of affection. These patterns don't just appear out of nowhere. They've been there for years, long before this person entered your life. All this relationship has done is shine a spotlight on them and press on them over and over, until they feel like the only truth you know. This is why you aren't trapped by the person themselves. You're trapped by what they make you feel. Why leaving isn't enough people to imagine that ending a toxic relationship is as simple as walking out the door. It's far more complicated. You might leave physically, but inside, you carry the bond with you like an echo you can't silence. Something keeps tugging at your thoughts, memories of good moments, the rush of relief after an apology, the belief that maybe they didn't mean it, that maybe you misunderstood, That's because the problem was never just the relationship. The problem is the psychological bond that's been formed, a bond so powerful it can warp your perception. Suddenly, things you once swore you would never tolerate start to feel acceptable. You start to believe that maybe your standards were too high, maybe your expectations were unrealistic. But this isn't about weakness. It's about being caught in something designed consciously or not to keep you stuck. And that's why understanding it is so important. No. This isn't your fault if you've been telling yourself that the reason you can't leave is because you're weak. You need to hear this. It's not true. What's happening isn't a reflection of your willpower, it's the result of a bond that has been built and reinforced over time. The human brain is wired for connection. It's the same instinct that kept our ancestors alive. But in the wrong environment, this instinct can be used against us. Your brain starts to associate the person, yes, even the one who hurts you, with safety, comfort, and love, no matter how false that association is. And so you stay. Not because you want the pain, but because some part of you fears the absence of the person even more than the presence of the hurt. The cycle that feeds itself. Here's how it works. The relationship wounds youth through neglect, criticism, betrayal, or manipulation. You feel hurt, lonely, and desperate for comfort. That same person gives you a moment of warmth, kindness, or attention enough to make you feel better. Your brain links them with both the pain and the relief. The cycle repeats, deepening the bond each time. This is why walking away feels so impossible, because your mind has been taught to see them as both the source of your pain and the cure for it. Clarity as the first weapon. This chapter isn't here to make you feel guilty for staying. It's not about shaming you for what you haven't yet done. It's about giving you clarity. Because when you finally understand the truth, when you can see the cycle for what it is, you start to regain control. And with control comes the ability to choose differently. The invisible chains holding you aren't made of love or loyalty. They're made of conditioning. They're the product of a relationship that has reprogrammed the way you see yourself, your partner, and love itself. But here's the thing about chains. The moment you see them for what they are, they begin to loosen. What comes next, if any part of you feels trapped right now? If you've ever thought, no, I should leave, but I can't, then you're in the right place. You're not alone in this. And most importantly, you're not broken. By the end of this journey, you'll understand why the cycle repeats, and more importantly, how to break it. You'll see that the reason you've stayed isn't because you're incapable, but because this relationship has been using the oldest and most powerful tricks in human psychology to keep you from walking away. The first step is to pull the curtain back and see the truth for yourself. Only then can you begin to break free, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. And once you do, you'll never look at love the same way again. Love, pain, and the early blueprint to understand why some people stay in toxic relationships while others walk away without looking back. You have to travel far, far beyond the present moment, beyond this relationship, even beyond adulthood. The roots of the answer are buried deep in your earliest memories. Love isn't something that just happens to us when we're grown. It's something we learn. Okay, it's shaped, molded, and coded into our nervous system from the moment we take our first breath, and depending on how we first experienced it, we carry a blueprinter, quiet, invisible script to every relationship that follows. The first lessons in love from the very beginning of life. We are wired to seek connection. A newborn doesn't know what love means in words, but it knows the warmth of a safe embrace, the steady rhythm of a heartbeat, the tone of a voice that soothes rather than startles. Our brains are built to link love with safety and safety, with survival. When love is given freely, consistent hugs, gentle reassurance, being listened to without fear of ridicule, we learn that relationships are safe places. We grow up expecting that affection will be stable, that care will be reliable, and that we don't have to fight for it. But not everyone is given that start. When love and pain arrive together, some of us grew up in homes where love came in unpredictable waves. One day there might be warmth, laughter, and approval. The next, there might be silence, rejection, criticism, or even cruelty. Love was not something you could count on, it was something you had to earn. Inconsistency teaches a dangerous lesson, that love is unstable, and that to keep it, you must adapt, shrink, or work harder. Your young brain records this as the truth about connection. Affection becomes a prize, not a given. Safety becomes conditional. And here's the most dangerous part: when love and pain are delivered together, the two can become fused in your mind. That fusion can follow you for the rest of your life, silently shaping who you are drawn to and what you tolerate. The familiar trap. Fast forward to adulthood. You meet someone who treats you well all the time, steady kindness, reliable care. Strangely, instead of feeling safe, part of you feels restless. It's unfamiliar. Your blueprint whispers, "This isn't real. This can't last. Where's the intensity? Where's the unpredictability you've come to expect from love?" But when you meet someone who gives affection in doses, warm one day, cold the next, something inside you recognizes the pattern. Your mind says, this is love. This I understand. It's not that you consciously want instability. It's that your nervous system has been trained to interpret uncertainty as connection. It feels familiar. Even if it hurts, the unconscious desire to fix it when you encounter someone who mirrors the same hot and cold dynamic you experienced in your formative years. Another powerful force comes into play: the drive to resolve the past. Your mind doesn't say this out loud, but it hums beneath the surface. This time, I'll get it right. This time, I'll be enough to make them stay. This time, I'll win the love I couldn't secure before. Every act of rejection triggers an urge to prove yourself worthy. Every rare moment of affection feels like progress. But it's an illusion. The other person isn't giving you healing there. Reactivating your oldest wound. Why loss feels unbearable. This is why the idea of losing such a person can feel unbearable. Not because you can't live without them, but because walking away feels like walking away from the chance to finally rewrite your story. Your brain tells you that leaving is failure. That if you could just fix this one person, you could just make them love you properly, it would erase every hurt that came before. But this is a mirage in the desert. It keeps you walking towards something that isn't there. The truth is stark. The relationship is not a test of your ability to be loved. The problem was never you, and the solution is not them. Attachment styles. The hidden map psychologists call these early blueprints attachment styles. While not every detail of your current struggle can be explained by them, they are a powerful framework for understanding why some people break free from toxic love and others get trapped. Secure attachment, developed in safe, consistent environments. Love feels natural, not earned. Anxious attachment, formed in unpredictable homes. Love feels scarce, and losing it feels catastrophic. Avoidant attachment, formed in emotionally distant environments. Love feels suffocating, and closeness is avoided. Disorganized attachment, a mix of anxious and avoidant, often the result of both fear and longing being present in early caregiving. If you grew up with anxious or disorganized attachment, you may be more likely to mistake instability for love and more likely to cling tightly to someone who hurts you. When love becomes a test, if affection in your life has often been paired with rejection or abandonment. You may not even realize how much you've normalized it. You might find yourself excusing behavior that should never be excused. They cancel plans at the last minute. They must be busy. They belittle you in front of friends. Maybe they didn't mean it like that. They disappear for days and then return with sweet words. They're trying their best. Over time, your threshold for what is acceptable shifts lower and lower. You begin to measure love not by how safe you feel, but by how hard you have to work to keep it. Breaking the blueprint here. The good news. Blueprints can be rewritten. They aren't destiny. But they do need to be brought into the light. The moment you start recognizing the patterns, noticing that this person's behavior is eerily similar to the way you once felt as a child, you take away part of the pattern's power. Ask yourself, does this relationship feel familiar in a way that isn't entirely healthy? Am I drawn to them because of who they are now, or because they remind me of something unresolved from my past? Okay. If I met them for the first time today, with no history, would I still find this dynamic appealing? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are essential. The first, understanding that your attraction to instability isn't random, is a turning point. It's not weakness, and it's not fate. It's conditioning. You learned to equate uncertainty with love. But learning is not permanent. It can be unlearned. The past shaped your blueprint, but it doesn't have to dictate your future. The next step is recognizing how these patterns keep you emotionally hooked hand. That takes us directly into one of the most powerful psychological traps of all, intermittent reinforcement. That's where the brain's craving for unpredictable rewards turns relationships into addictions. And once you see how it works, you'll understand why walking away feels so much harder than it should, and why it's entirely possible to break free. The hook of intermittent rewards. If the person you're with were cruel to you all the time, leaving would be easy. There'd be no confusion, no warm memories to haunt you, no flickers of hope to pull you back in. But that's not how toxic relationships work. The truth is more sinister. They give you just enough love to keep you holding on. Just enough sweetness to make you believe that the worst moments are just bumps in the road. And those moments of warmth, sprinkled unpredictably among the storms, are not harmless. They are the fuel that keeps the engine of a toxic relationship running. Psychologists have a name for this: intermittent reinforcement. The science of the hook. The term comes from the work of behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner, who studied how animals learn patterns of reward. In one of his experiments, he placed a rat in a box with a lever that, when pressed, released a food pellet. When the lever gave food every time, the rat pressed it steadily. But when Skinner made the rewards unpredictable, sometimes the lever gave food, sometimes it didn't. The rat became obsessed. It would press the lever over and over, far more than before, desperate for the next reward. The lesson was clear. The most powerful way to keep someone hooked to a behavior is to reward them randomly. Replace the rat with a human being and the lever with your relationship. And you'll see why intermittent reinforcement is so dangerous. How it works in love. If your partner treated you badly all the time, your mind and body would eventually reject them. But they don't. Instead, they mix cruelty with tenderness, neglect with sudden attention. One day, they ignore your messages, dismiss your feelings, or criticize you. You feel small, rejected, unwanted. Then, without warning, they send a sweet text, buy you a gift, or hold you close as if nothing bad ever happened. Your brain, relieved by the sudden shift, lights up with dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. The contrast between pain and reward makes that moment of affection feel intoxicating. You don't just feel loved in that moment, you feel rescued. And rescue feels far more intense than steady care. The cycle that weakens you at first, you might still demand respect, reciprocity, and commitment. But over time, as the ups and downs wear you down, your standards begin to shift. You start accepting less and less, just for the chance to feel those fleeting highs again. Your mind convinces you that those highs, the good days, the passionate moments, the times when they're just like they used to be, are the truth of your relationship. And that the bad times are just obstacles to overcome. But it's not love you're chasing anymore. It's the next hit of dopamine. You've been conditioned to keep pressing the lever. Why it feels like addiction. Intermittent reinforcement works in relationships, much like gambling works in casinos. A slot machine doesn't give a payout every time you pull the handle. It gives it just enough to keep you playing. The unpredictability of the win keeps you hooked. Good. In the same way, your partner doesn't give you affection every time you seek it. They give it just enough to keep you from leaving. That unpredictability makes you chase it even harder, because when you do get it, it feels like you've won something rare and valuable. The cruel irony is that the rarer the reward, the more valuable it feels, even if it's worth nothing at all. Lowering the bar here's where it becomes dangerous. Intermittent reinforcement doesn't just keep you hooked. It actively changes your idea of what's acceptable in love. In the beginning, you might have expected consistent affection, respect, and trust. But after months or years of this push and pull, you find yourself celebrating crumbs. A text reply becomes proof they care. A day without a fight feels like a reason to stay. A short-lived apology convinces you that change is finally coming. It's not that you've lost your self-worth, you've been trained to accept less. The constant contrast between cruelty and kindness has rewired your brain to cling to scraps as if they're feasts. The false hope loop. The most painful part of this trap is the hope. It feeds you. Every time you get a rare moment of love, you tell yourself, this is the real them. This is who they truly are. The bad times are just temporary, but this hope is part of the conditioning. Those rare moments don't prove the relationship's potential, they're part of the cycle that keeps you locked in it. And here's the harsh truth. If they were capable of sustaining those moments consistently, they already would have control, not love. This is why intermittent reinforcement is often a tool of control, sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously. The other person doesn't need to be loving all the time to keep you. They only need to be loving enough to keep you doubting your instincts, enough to keep you trying to win back the version of them you saw in the beginning, enough to keep you from noticing that, over time, you are giving more and more while receiving less and less. The emotional cost staying in this cycle doesn't just cost you peace. It costs you your sense of self. You start questioning your worth. You stop trusting your perceptions. You lose sight of what love should actually feel like. Your identity begins to erode. And before you know it, you've been reshaped into someone who accepts behavior you would have once run from. This erosion is not accidental. It's the perfect setup for the next weapon. Toxic people often use gaslighting because once your reality is shaky, you become easier to control. The bridge to manipulation is when someone distorts your reality until you doubt your own memory, feelings, and even sanity. It's the next step in deepening the trap. Imagine you finally confront your partner about the inconsistent affection, the disappearing acts, the coldness. Instead of owning up, they accuse you of being too sensitive, overreacting, or imagining things. If you've already been worn down by the highs and lows of intermittent reinforcement, you're far more likely to believe them. You're already used to doubting yourself, already primed to think you might be the problem. Recognizing the hook, the first step to breaking free from intermittent reinforcement is recognizing it for what it is: a system designed to keep you emotionally dependent. Ask yourself, Do I feel like I'm constantly trying to get back to the way things were at the beginning? Do I excuse bad behavior because of occasional good moments? Do I feel addicted to this relationship, unable to let go even though it's hurting me? If the answer is yes, then you're not just in love, you're caught in a psychological loop that needs to be broken. Why awareness is power once you see the pattern clearly. The magic of the good moments starts to fade. You begin to recognize them not as proof of love, but as part of the trap. The affection stops feeling like a rare treasure and starts looking like a tool of control. This doesn't make leaving easy, but it makes staying harder to justify. And that shift is critical. What comes next, intermittent reinforcement, might be the hook, but it's not the whole cage. The next part of the trap is psychological manipulation, gaslighting, projection, and blame shifting, which deepens your dependency and blurs your sense of reality. In the next chapter, we'll walk through how these tactics work, why they're so effective, and how they keep you questioning your sanity until you can no longer tell which way is out, because breaking free isn't just about walking away. It's about seeing every part of the cage you've been living in. The fear of loneliness and the illusion of change. You've seen the cycle. You've felt the hook of intermittent rewards, the rare good moments that keep you clinging to something that hurts you. But even after recognizing the pattern, even after telling yourself, I deserve better, something else stops you from walking away. It's a fear so quiet and so deep it can override logic. It's not just fear of loss, it's the fear of being alone. And wrapped around that fear is a seductive lie. The belief that maybe, just maybe, you can change this person if you love them enough. The fear we don't talk about. Society doesn't like to admit how much people fear loneliness. We're told to be independent, to love ourselves first, but from childhood, we are fed the message that life is incomplete without a partner. Fairy tales end with happily ever after, in someone's arms. Movies, music, and social media glorify being loved as the ultimate achievement. The unspoken message is clear. Being alone means you've failed. And failure is terrifying. When you've been in a toxic relationship, that fear intensifies. You've been conditioned to believe that no one else could love you the way this person does. They've told you directly or indirectly that no one else will understand you, accept you, or put up with you. Over time, those words sink in until they feel like truth. The loneliness illusion hears the reality, the fear. Your feeling often isn't loneliness, it's emotional withdrawal. Toxic relationships operate like addictive substances. They flood you with highs and lows, keeping you chemically and emotionally dependent. When you try to leave, your brain panics. It craves the next hit of affection, even if it comes wrapped in abuse. You mistake this craving for proof that you need them. But it's not love, it's the same mechanism that keeps a gambler pulling the lever or a smoker lighting another cigarette. The discomfort you feel isn't evidence you should go back. It's evidence you've been hooked. Clinging to the beginning, every toxic relationship has a honeymoon phase. In the beginning, they were attentive, loving, and maybe even made. You feel seen in ways no one else had when the relationship turns toxic. You don't cling to the person they've become. You cling to the person they were at the start. You tell yourself, if I just wait a little longer, if I'm patient, if I change something about myself, that version will come back. You ignore the evidence in front of you, the lies, the disrespect, the manipulation, because the memory of those early days is so intoxicating. But the beginning wasn't the truth. It was the bait. The illusion of change. This is where the second trap springs shut. The belief that you can change them. That if you love them enough, support them enough, sacrifice enough, they'll finally wake up, okay, and treat you the way you deserve. It's an illusion for 3 reasons. Real change is internal. It only happens when the person themselves recognizes the problem and wants to change. You can't force it from the outside. Patterns reveal truth. If nothing has changed after countless promises, it's because they don't intend to change, or they're not capable of it right now. Your sacrifices won't save them. You could twist yourself into 100 shapes and it still wouldn't be enough, because their behavior is about them, not you. Think about it. How many times have they promised things would be different? How many times have you forgiven them after hearing, "I'm sorry, I'll do better"? How many times did the changes last more than a moment? Why we keep believing hope is a powerful drug. It convinces you that enduring more pain is worth it, because of the slim chance it might lead to a better future. You tell yourself, this time, they mean it. You replay the times they were tender, use them as evidence that the real them is still in there, and convince yourself the rest is just a phase. But ask yourself honestly, if you strip away the hope, what remains? Is there a consistent pattern of respect, trust, and safety, or is there a consistent pattern of hurt, excuses, and repetition? The price of staying, the pain of accepting that someone will not change, is sharp, but it's temporary. The pain of staying is slow, heavy, and corrosive. It eats away at your self-esteem, your sense of reality, and your belief in your own worth. You begin to adapt to mistreatment without even realizing it. You stop asking for your needs to be met because you've learned it only causes conflict. You stop voicing your boundaries because you've been made to feel selfish for having them. One day, you look in the mirror and realize you no longer recognize the person staring back. Why leaving feels like losing. Leaving doesn't just mean losing the person, it means losing the hope that things will get better. It means letting go of the dream of the life you thought you were building together. It means facing the emptiness they've left in your daily routine, your future plans, and your emotional landscape. And that's why so many people stay not because the relationship is good, but because the pain of letting go feels like too much to bear. But here's the truth. The pain of letting go fades. The pain of staying does not dot the turning point to break this trap. You have to see the fear and the illusion for what they are. Fear of loneliness is not truthfully withdrawal. The illusion of change is not lovely hope used against you. You cannot heal in the same place that is breaking you. You cannot find peace with someone who profits emotionally or psychologically from keeping you in turmoil. This isn't about hating them or wishing them harm. It's about recognizing that their journey is theirs and your healing is yours. Reframing the fear, instead of asking, "What if I'm alone forever?" ask, "What if I keep living like this for another year, 5 years, 10? Instead of asking, "What if they change right after I leave?" ask, "If they can change without me, why haven't they done it while I'm here?" These questions shift the focus back to the reality of your present instead of the fantasy of your future. Choosing yourself, choosing to walk away is not a declaration that you've given up on love. It's a declaration that you refuse to accept a version of love that hurts more than it heals. It's choosing to give yourself the chance to experience peace, safety, and respect, whether that's with someone new someday or with yourself. Because here's the truth. The person you are hoping they'll become, that person doesn't need to be in them. They can be in you. You can be the one who treats yourself with the care, consistency, and love you've been craving. What comes next? Fear of loneliness and the illusion of change are two of the strongest anchors holding people in toxic relationships. But once you see them clearly, they begin to lose their grip. Still, knowing isn't enough. Breaking free requires more than understanding the trap, requires dismantling the bond itself. That's where the process of emotional detoxification begins. Cutting contact, enduring withdrawal, and rebuilding your identity piece by piece. That's what we'll explore in the next chapter. Because it's not just about leaving, it's about truly breaking the cycle so you never find yourself here again. Breaking the cycle and choosing yourself. By now, you've seen the truth. You know the invisible chains that have held you. You understand how your early blueprint for love shaped your choices, how intermittent rewards kept you hooked, and how fear of loneliness and the illusion of change anchored you in place. Awareness is the first weapon, but it isn't the last. Knowing why you're trapped is different from breaking free. Breaking free is not just a decision, it's a process. And it's one of the hardest emotional journeys you'll ever take. The good news? It's also the most liberating. Step 1. The total break. If you truly want to heal, you must commit to a complete no-contact separation. That means no calls, no texts, no let's just be friends, and no secret check-ins on their social media. Why? 'Cause any contact, no matter how small, is like pouring water on the seeds of the bond you're trying to uproot. One short conversation can reopen the cycle of hope and hurt, undoing weeks or months of progress. You may tell yourself you just want closure. But here's the truth. You already have closure. You have all the information you need. Patterns, the pain, the broken promises. What you're seeking isn't closure, it's another reason to stay, so cut it off. Block their number. Remove them from your social feeds. If mutual logistics make that impossible for a time, keep communication strictly factual and minimal, like a business transaction. With zero personal engagement. Step 2. Prepare for withdrawal. Leaving a toxic relationship is not like flipping a switch. It's like quitting an addictive drug. There will be withdrawal. At first, you may feel an emptiness so deep it's hard to breathe. Your mind will replay every good moment, romanticizing the past and whispering, "Maybe I overreacted. Maybe it wasn't that bad." This isn't proof that leaving was wrong, it's proof that you're breaking an addiction. Your brain has been conditioned to see this person as both the cause and the cure for your pain. Now, without them, you're left with the raw discomfort you used to numb with their occasional affection. The most dangerous time is in these early days, when the urge to go back is strongest. This is when you must have strategies ready, right? A list of all the ways they hurt you and read it whenever you feel tempted. Keep a journal of your progress, so you can see how far you've come. Surround yourself with people who remind you who you are without them. Fill your time with activities that engage your body and mind. Exercise, learning, creating, helping others. Most importantly, remind yourself, missing them does not mean you made a mistake. Step 3. Resist romanticizing the past. One of the sneakiest tricks your mind will play on you is selective memory. It will highlight the few good days and mute the countless bad ones. You'll remember the way they looked at you in the beginning, the rush of being desired, the first time they made you laugh until your stomach hurt. You'll forget the nights you cried yourself to sleep, the times they made you doubt your own worth, the hours you spent feeling invisible. The antidote to this is brutal honesty. Every time you find yourself idealizing the past, counter it with the full truth of the present. Ask yourself, if those good moments were truly the foundation of the relationship, why were they so rare? Step 4. Rebuild your identity. Toxic relationships don't just hurt you, they hollow you out. They convince you that your identity, your value, and even your reality are dependent on someone else's approval. To break free, you must remember who you were before this relationship. And if you've forgotten, you must rediscover yourself piece by piece. Start with small questions. What did I love to do before I met them? What hobbies, friendships, or dreams did I set aside? What qualities do I admire in myself, independent of anyone else's opinion? Then act on the answers. Reconnect with old friends. Return to passions you abandoned. Try new things that have nothing to do with them. Each step you take is a brick in the foundation of the new yous, someone who exists fully without their presence. Step 8. Rewrite the blueprint here early. Experiences with love may have wired you to accept instability and pain as normal. But wiring can be changed. Start redefining what love means to you, not in theory, but in practice. That means paying attention to how you feel in relationships, both romantic and platonic. Real love should make you feel safe, respected, and valued consistently, not just in rare bursts. Be patient with yourself. Your nervous system has been taught to expect chaos. At first, healthy love might feel strange or even boring. Not a sign it's wrong, it's a sign you're healing. Step 6. Choose yourself daily. Choosing yourself isn't a one-time decision, it's a daily practice. Some days you'll feel strong and clear. Other days, the pull of the old cycle will whisper to you. On those days, ask yourself, if I go back, will anything truly be different? What would I be teaching myself about my worth if I accepted less again? Example would I be setting for the person I want to become? Choosing yourself means valuing your peace over their chaos, your self-respect over their approval, your future over your comfort zone. The fog will lift in the beginning. Everything will feel raw. You'll miss them. You'll question yourself. But as the days pass, something remarkable happens. The fog begins to lift. The moments of clarity grow longer. You start remembering things you had forgotten, not just about them, but about you. The laughter that comes easily with friends. The calm of waking up without anxiety. The quiet confidence of making decisions without fear of their reaction. One day, without warning, you'll notice that they haven't crossed your mind in hours, maybe even days. And when they do, it will feel like looking at a closed chapter. In a book you no longer need to read. The final truth: no one is coming to save you. There will be no magical moment when the decision is made for you. No sudden revelation that makes leaving painless. The choice is yours. You can stay and repeat the cycle until there is nothing left of you. Or you can take the first step out knowing it will hurt at first, but lead to freedom. Choosing yourself is not selfish, it's survival. It's saying, I refuse to shrink myself for someone who refuses to grow. And when you finally make that choice and commit to it, you'll realize something incredible: the love you were chasing in them. You can give it to yourself. And that kind of love doesn't disappear, doesn't manipulate, and doesn't hurt you to keep you close.